DeAndre Baker. I'm pretty sure a couple of Giants fans remember who this guy was. I mean, it hasn't been that long, and I'm pretty sure a couple of Georgia Bulldogs fans remember who this guy was. At one point, this guy was one of the best corners in college football in 2017 and 2018, and many people thought he was going to make an excellent transition to the NFL based off of this. However, he got up to a bit of a rocky start in the NFL, and things didn't click for him. But somehow things would go from bad to worse, and for the most part, a lot of these things weren't really his fault. His life went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. And obviously, when you do stories like this, you gotta look at everything. You gotta look at the full picture of this guy's career. So we're gonna look at DeAndre Baker and how this guy went from a first round pick to not even in the league as of this point, as in the beginning of this video. So we're gonna take it all the way from the top and then drive all the way to the bottom with this video. Like I said before in the intro, this video was the one I did last year, and I just wanted to remaster it, so that's what we're going to do today. And DeAndre Baker is the topic of this video today. Now, DeAndre Baker, like I said, had a very short NFL career. It was one that, is going to be talked about, not for the most part in a good way, at least if you're a Giants fan, because even to this day, I still wonder what DeAndre Baker could have been if this guy got another chance in the NFL, especially playing next to James Bradbury, who had that Pro Bowl season in 2020. Playing cornerback too next to him, I think, would have been beneficial to his career. Unfortunately, we never got to saw that happen because the instant I wouldn't say he got himself into, the instant he got roped into in May of 2020, which we'll talk about more as the video goes on today. But like I said before in the intro, with videos like this, you gotta go all the way to the top and then start from the bottom. So let's look at DeAndre Baker and his playing career real quick. So coming out of high school, DeAndre Baker was a 3-star recruit out of Northwestern High School in Miami, Florida. And this high school has actually produced a number of NFL players for the most part. And I'm going to go over a list of them. Tutu Atwell, who currently plays for the Los Angeles Rams, Teddy Bridgewater, Artie Burns, Amari Cooper, Levante David, Kalaji Kancey. So, like I said before, a number of NFL players have went to this school. Not only that, but rappers Trina and also Trick Daddy went to this school. So, yeah, a pretty good notable alumni for the most part. But like I said, back to DeAndre Baker real quick. Coming out of high school, he was a 3-star recruit out of Northwestern High School in Miami, Florida. He was the 44th ranked corner and the 56th ranked player in the class of 2015. Now, not only did he play football, but he also ran track, in which he was an All-American in. But obviously, despite the fact he was good at track, he would focus on football, and leading up to signing day, he had offers from big name schools that included Georgia, Texas, and also Clemson. Now, before his signing day, he would tease that he was going to attend University of Texas, and he sent a tweet out before that night, or before that day, that he was going to commit to the University of Texas. Now, I tried to look on his Twitter to find this tweet, and maybe the tweet was there and I didn't see it, or maybe it was deleted. But whatever it was, that tweet was enough to have people believe that he was going to commit to the University of Texas. But in the end, he would commit to Georgia. Now, he would explain his reason as to why he committed to Georgia, saying Texas just signed a couple of defensive backs, and Georgia needs defensive backs. That would be the best opportunity for me. They said the SEC is a close thing to the NFL, so I want to prepare myself for it. Then he said, Texas is a long way from home. That played a small role as well. They said as long as I work hard, I'll be a star. As a true freshman, Baker would have played in 11 games. Now, in those 11 games, he didn't record much of any stats. I think he had like 1 tackle, maybe that's it. And then in his sophomore year, he played in 12 games, had 21 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. Then you go to 2017, and this is where we saw Baker become the reason why some people thought this guy was the best corner in all of college football. That year, he had 3 interceptions, 30 tackles, and allowed an insane 32.7 passer rating allowed when targeted. Now, after that season, after that very good elite season by DeAndre Baker, it was said that he was possibly going to declare for the 2018 NFL Draft. However, he decided that he was going to come back another year for the 2018 season for the Georgia Bulldogs. On his decision to return, he would say, it came down to the last day. It was, do I want to further my career in the NFL or come back to the university and do something great that we never did before? Now, he was obviously referring to Georgia winning the national championship. Now, Georgia obviously win a championship that year, but Baker would have another great season, recording 40 tackles, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and once again allowed a passer rating of a 40.2. So obviously he would have regressed a little bit from last year. The passer rating went up a little bit, but a 40.2 passer rating allowed is still really good. And at the same time, during his career at Georgia, this guy only allowed only one touchdown his entire career. So this guy was the definition of a lockdown corner from day one for the most part. Despite the fact that DeAndre Baker was a lockdown corner during his whole time at Georgia, this guy wasn't exactly flying off draft boards for the most part. Despite the fact this guy won the Jim Thorpe Award in 2018, which is given to the top defensive back in all of college football, and despite the fact he was a consensus All-American in 2018, for some reason, this guy, like I said, was not really highly touted as a prospect coming into the NFL draft. And understandably, there are a few reasons why a lot of teams were worried about him. He was only 5'11", 193 pounds, so his size obviously marked off some red flags for a lot of NFL teams. And his speed also wasn't really all that great either. He ran a 4.52, like I said, which isn't exactly great. So that played a huge part into why teams weren't exactly fond of draft boards again for the most part. Now, there were a few red flags that were apparently going on around draft time as well that honestly I didn't hear about until around 2020, which, yeah, where that incident happened at. So take these with a grain of salt, because you know some people will say things like that just because things happen, and they'll say, oh, we should have saw the flags. We were always right about this guy. So like I said before, you never know what some of these guys try to do. However, this report came out around the time the Giants would take him in the NFL draft, or around draft time, by this guy, what's his name? David Sturverson. I'm going to try my best to, say that last name right. I know it's probably not, but you get the point I'm trying to say. Anyways, his report on DeAndre Baker would be this: I was surprised by the trade up, and I was surprised by the selection. Before I get into why, I know that I had a top 15 overall grade on him, and I think it was a great value grab. What surprised me was the fact that he didn't receive a lot of love from the UGA coaching staff when it came to his character and work ethic. In addition, it was public knowledge that he didn't interview well. While that is all subjective, and it shouldn't make or break with how NYG has been trying to steer this team culture idea back on the straight and narrow, a trade up for Baker was puzzling. In addition, there was a handful of corners that fit the similar grade. Wasn't necessary to trade up. I'm not sure, but I do understand why. Like I said before, take that report with a grain of salt, because a lot of these analysts, a lot of these guys love seeing when a player gets arrested and saying things like, we should have saw the red flags, we should have saw all this, just so they can say, oh, I was right, I told you guys this was not a good idea, and things like that. So take that with a grain of salt, because in the end, like I said before, that's probably not going to matter, but a lot of guys will love pointing that out just to, get a boost in their ego for the most part. And even some guys on the post in this Twitter section are basically pointing that out. Some guys said, I don't see any reporting and indication towards armed robbery, but since no college football prospect other than him is at a red flag, trading up for a top 15 talent was sure puzzling. So yeah, that guy makes a solid point once you look at it for the most part. But despite all those apparent pre-draft red flags around DeAndre Baker, the New York Giants were still traded with the Seattle Seahawks and take DeAndre Baker 30th overall in the 2019 NFL draft. And the Giants were coming out of this draft thinking they just got 3 players that were going to set them for the future. Not only did they take DeAndre Baker in this draft, but this the draft they infamously took Daniel Jones 6th overall, and they also took Dexter Lawrence a couple picks later, which ended up being, a pick that a lot of people were worried about. But in the end, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to talk about if that was a bad pick or not, because Dexter Lawrence is arguably the best defensive tackle in all of football right now. But back on topic, like I said, as a huge Giants fan, watching Baker get torched weekly was an absolute eyesore. He was, in my opinion, one of the worst corners I watched play. And I'm not even joking, at least for the Giants. And considering this guy was supposed to be the best corner in college football at one point, that's an issue. Baker would constantly get torched. And to make matters worse, guess who was on the other side of him? Janoris Jenkins. And guess what? This guy was getting baked too. So as a Giants fan, I had to watch my entire secondary get baked. Not just DeAndre Baker, but also Janoris Jenkins. So basically, I had double ass sores from watching both of these guys play football. Now, Baker would improve towards the end of the season for the most part, but overall, it was a huge disappointing season during his rookie year. And honestly, that might be understanding it a little bit. Now, here's the thing. Coaching may have been an issue for DeAndre Baker in the end, but this guy did not do himself any favors himself for the most part. And this is what Jordan Renan had to say about DeAndre Baker. Baker's rookie season was rocky to say the least. At one point, he got called out in a team meeting, and his 7 touchdowns allowed as a nearest defender was tied for the 4th most in the NFL per Next Gen Stats. There are questions to be desired about DeAndre Baker. Sleeping in team meetings was not uncommon. So the fact that this guy was sleeping in team meetings does not do himself any favor. You want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. You want to hope that coaching is the main issue as to why this guy is struggling. But when a report comes out that you are apparently sleeping during team meetings, all that benefit of the doubt kind of goes out of the way, because that kind of shows you either don't have the work ethic and you don't care about football. So it's kind of hard to defend you when a report like that comes out. To make matters worse, after the Cowboys game, this guy practically admitted that he didn't know the playbook. After the loss to the Cowboys, basically, he was asked what went wrong in the game, and DeAndre Baker would say this. Baker would state, just the plays and everything like that. The playbook, just knowing the plays, knowing what I need to do, and knowing my assignment. So like I said, when you are basically telling people during the meeting that you don't know the playbook and things like that, once again, that is going to stop people from giving you the benefit of the doubt, giving you any sort of remorse when it comes to bad play. Because once again, that is showing people that you once again don't care about football or have a bad work ethic. A lot of Giants fans were hopeful after the, slight improvements he made towards the end of the season. But when things like that come out, a lot of Giants fans are also going to be slightly worried if he can improve. Maybe you can blame coaching for not teaching it a better way, or maybe you can blame DeAndre Baker for simply not processing information the way it should have been. You can come up with your own conclusion on that, so who knows? Now, during the 2020 offseason, the Giants made a number of free agency moves. One of the biggest moves they made that year was signing James Bradberry, and many people thought that James Bradberry was obviously going to be the corner 1, but DeAndre Baker was going to be the corner 2 opposite to him. However, in May of 2020, things would come to a completely shocking turn, one that nobody would see coming. On May 14th, 2020, it was announced that DeAndre Baker and fellow NFL defensive back Quentin Dunbar were both wanted on armed robbery charges. Baker was facing 4 counts of armed robbery with a firearm and 4 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm. Dunbar, on the other hand, was facing 4 counts of armed robbery with the firearm. Now, this was allegedly a dice game that went quote unquote wrong, and I'm saying quote unquote for a reason, because obviously I think most of you guys know what happened later on. But according to the arrest warrant, Baker and Dunbar were accused of stealing money and watches with force while armed with semi-automatic firearms. It states that Baker intentionally threatened victims with a firearm, and also according to the arrest warrant, multiple witnesses said at one point Baker ordered another suspect wearing a red mask to shoot an individual who was just entering the party. After this, the Giants would cut DeAndre Baker and he was placed on the commissioner's exempt list. 2 days later as well, Baker and Dunbar would turn themselves in. Now, like I said before, here's what a witness said happened. Baker suffered a huge loss at a high-stakes dice game on May 12th and tried to steal it back that night in return for a firearm that next evening to rob the game's big winner and 3 others at the party. It was a gambling party apparently, but he allegedly put a gun in the old man's face and started stripping watches and robbing cash, turning the planned February May 13th celebration into a chaotic dash for the doorways. The police documents show that 4 victims and an alleged witness also say they heard rumors that a 6-figure murder contract was later sought against the victims to ensure they would never testify. That already sounds like an insane story. However, in a huge twist of events, a couple months later, the charges against both Dunbar and Baker would drop. And there was so much around this. Apparently, this wasn't a whole extortion plot from people involved. The attorney involved, William Dean, was basically paying witnesses off to change their statements. The men involved changed their statements to saying they basically did not get an accurate look at the events as they occurred, that DeAndre Baker was present but was not involved in any criminal act, and they were not robbed or assaulted. So basically, they recanted their statements, and I would assume their statements before were saying that DeAndre Baker were involved in this. But like I said before, the attorney involved was apparently paying people to basically recant their statements. So in addition to Baker having his charges dropped, William Dean, the mastermind of this whole thing, would be charged with extortion charges. And yeah, basically, this was a huge turn of events. Now, he was taken off the commissioner's exempt list and he was free to return to the NFL. And you would think the Giants would possibly want to bring him back. However, head coach at the time, Joe Judge, would say that Baker had no shot at returning to the Giants. So instead, he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he played a total of 10 games there for the team before suffering a gruesome broken femur against the Chargers, becoming only the second player to suffer a broken femur during the game. And then in August of 2022, he was waived from the Chiefs. And just recently, he played with the DC Defenders of the UFL, where he actually had a huge forced fumble play during the game. What's the conclusion for me here? I think Baker had a very rocky start to his NFL career during his rookie year, and I think after the Giants signed Bradbury, he was going to be primed to break out. But because he got into something that he was never even involved in, matter of fact, he didn't even get into it. He was roped into it because someone was looking for a quick buck. He got his career ruined. Now, I can't defend the sleeping or maybe even the playbook nonsense. That's a terrible work ethic. But I believe that people can change and mature. And I believe that Baker, if he got that chance to play for the Giants, he would probably be in a better state than right now. Definitely better than the UFL. But because, like I said, somebody was looking for a quick buck, he never got that chance. He got it with the Chiefs, but he suffered an unfortunate injury, and like I said before, the Chiefs just eventually cut him from the team. It really sucks to see, but I'm glad to see he is playing for the UNFL. He's still in high spirits, so that's always great to see. He's also just 26 years old, so I hope he gets back to the league one day, because I still want it to be a happy ending for him, and I want to see him get a very good redemption story, because I've always said before, I think if DeAndre Baker never got into that incident or never got roped up into it, I think he would have been a great player genuinely, and I genuinely believe that. I think with the proper coaching, he would have been a very great NFL player. I really do. Just a really unfortunate turn of events for DeAndre Baker. It just really sad, honestly. Also, I was watching, a couple of his, segments with Florida Sportsman, the guy he had an interview with, and for the most part, it seems like this guy is genuinely a good guy. Like, he was talking about things high school players should do when they're coming to the NFL. He was basically talking about, how teams need to give him a chance. He's ready to work and things like that. So it seems like this guy still has a very great mindset for the most part. It seems like he genuinely wants to revive his career, and he genuinely doesn't seem like this guy's a bad guy at all. It just seems like somebody rolled into a situation and painted him as a bad guy. That's really all it is. But y'all let me know y'all's thoughts on the situation. In my opinion, what do you think about DeAndre Baker? What do y'all think about the situation entirely? Let me know in your comments down below in the description. I knew this video was a lot longer than the original one, but like I said, with more information in this video and with more things I want to talk about, that's probably going to happen. Like I said before, as always, let me know in your comments down below in the description about the video. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel and tap the bell icon for future football content. Follow me on social medias down below in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.